Welcome back to Project Xena. In today's episode, we have an unboxing and some parts to put on. So, let's see what's going on. So, this is the state that the bike is currently in. In the first video, I stripped off the fairings, removed the tank and the airbox, and one side of the tail, ready for brake lines, quick shifter, and anything else we end up doing. So there is a pile of bits ready to get fitted later. Welcome to the workbench. Everyone likes a bit of an unboxing, so I think we'll start with that. We've got 3 boxes here today, obviously all bike parts. We'll start with this one. The next 2 should be fairly obvious for anyone who's done any work on bikes as to what they are. But even before we open the boxes, this one is our new throttle tube with standard grips, which potentially, in theory, we should be able to change the grip at a later date if we want to for some nicer Renthal ones. Like I said, the heated grips that were on there were basically glued onto the throttle tube and there was no way they were coming off. But there is our new throttle tube. Next box. Anyone who has a decent understanding of or has worked on bikes should know what Translogic is. They do electronics and specifically quick shifters and flipper systems for bikes. So this is our IntelliShift system. So this bike can take a quick shifter but not a blipper because it doesn't have ride-by-wire electronic throttle, just normal cable throttle. What we will need to do with this is, I believe I need to register it, and that will give me the instructions for fitting, because these plugs aren't numbered, or are they? Are they numbered? No, number 1 is numbered, maybe. But none of the others are marked up. Bit strange. Anyway, that is our quick shifter. Got all the shift rod and everything. Won't be fitting the shift rod at the moment. We're waiting for the rear sets to arrive, and we can do all that at the same time. But we will get the main part of it in, and I will get the actual, if I can get to it. There it is. I will get the shift sensor hanging at least somewhere close to where it should be. And last but by no means least, it's a box from Hell. And Hell obviously do brake lines, they do master cylinders, they do calipers, which I have a set of their calipers on my Fireblade. They're very good. These are a ABS delete set, front and rear, for the GSXS, which we will obviously have to make sure they fit properly, which shouldn't be a problem, at least when the bar risers are out. These will be going direct from the master cylinder to the calipers, which is, I probably should have expected, but on my naked one that still has the ABS, there's a line from the master cylinder that goes to the ABS pump, and then there's a line from there that comes out to a splitter just below the headlight, or behind the headlight, that then goes down to the calipers. So I was expecting something similar without the ABS for this, but we just have direct lines, which is fine. It just means less faffing about, hopefully. And we can, well, just go straight from the master cylinder down without having to worry about routing anything into the frame. So that should all be good. Thus concludes the unboxing. So I thought I'd give you a quick view of what I mean about the brake lines on the standard ABS. So it comes from the master cylinder through into under the tank, then routes round down here, which you under there you can just about see it, round to the ABS pump, then comes back from the ABS pump to a little splitter and then down to each caliper. Obviously on this one they're just direct, so they'll be coming from the master cylinder straight down each side. First thing we're going to do is let's get this grip on. Should be relatively easy. The only problem is getting the cables to stretch to the point that they pop in these, which is always quite a fiddle. It's not exactly difficult, it's just like I said, a bit of a fiddle and a faff just to get them set. Once the cables are on, putting it all back together is just a case of a couple of bolts. Let's get cracking. Helps if you put it on the bar before you try and put the cables on. Now that both the cables are popped into the grip, I can do it all back up, and that is one job ticked off. One thing that I did do when I took the throttle off was I wound this cable all the way in, which means there's now a lot of free play. When I did that, I did notice this was wound out quite a long way. So what I think I'm going to do is wind a little bit on down here and a little bit on there, see if I can balance it out a bit so there's still enough thread on there that as it stretches it can be wound out a little bit without taking the tank off, which is a bit of faff just for adjusting the throttle. So we've got that all adjusted up. There's a small amount of free play before it actually starts to get on the throttle. Probably wants adjusting properly once we get to actually starting to ride it, but there's plenty of adjustment in here to go forwards or backwards to get it to where we need. And it just means that, like I said, it's somewhere close, but it's not urgent at the moment for getting it spot on. I can wait until probably the first track day on it for a shakedown and get everything just about where we want it properly. So before I install this, I've gone through the manual and I've marked up these connectors, which cylinder they're supposed to go to, so that if it comes off and then goes on either this bike again or another, it's nice and easy to identify where they're supposed to go, because it's always much easier if it's nice and clear instead of trying to root through the manual and find it. Okay, let's run in this quick shifter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this end and run everything else through, and once I'm happy with where everything is, then I will cable tie it all. Now what I did on mine, with this at least, is I just had it underneath this strap so it was nice and secure, wasn't going to go anywhere. And if I need to move it, I can, nice and easily, which I'm going to do the same on this one, because why wouldn't I? However, I do want to make sure I can see those lights. That is nice and secure. Now, this end needs to go onto the battery, but I want that far enough down that it can reach the quick shifter sensor, which we're not putting in yet, so they can wait. These cables, which I have marked up 1, 2, 3 and 4, need to run up to the ignition coils, which I would like to run underneath here, which I'm hoping I can get away without taking off that side cover, because that will be a big faff. So let's see what we can do. That's going to work. So that might be easier. The other way I can do this is if I simply, hopefully simply, get the battery out. How easy is this to move? Oh, that's going to be nice and difficult, isn't it? Will this come out far enough without unplugging it? So I'd like to avoid that if I can. And the answer is no. Okay, not going that way. Okay, good news. I've popped this out of a little clip down there, so I've got a bit of play, which has given me just enough space that I can route that through there. So we'll run the other one. And hopefully there's still enough space with that cable in. And there is. Okay. And a minute. So this can get clipped back under there. I want to run that through there as well. There. That's not going anywhere. I can see those lights. The best thing about working on this bike is I already have one as an example for when I need to check if cables are going to route invisibly around different bits of plastic, which these definitely will, just through here. What I need to do is work out where I'm going to route this last one, which I think I'm going to send just straight through here. It'll fit. Will it fit? Not going to fit that way. Don't think those connectors will fit. Let's just see. Okay. Down that way. Yeah, it will. Just get that to slip down there. Pull that out again. Now we're getting caught on. Oh, there's a connector in there, that's why. There we go. And that one will be even more invisible. So that's it there. Just need to pop this back up to go to the battery. Like so. Like I said, we'll leave that there until we've got the rear sets and we can get it all to fit nice. As for these, there we go. They can just wrap that round there. Put them back up through the frame. And the other one. Without wrapping it around the foot peg. There we go. And then we can route them up to the coils. So, try and make sure we run them away from anything that they might be in the way of. These go over to these two. Get them tucked in nice and out of the way. These go to 1 and 2. Now, a little bit twisted, obviously. There we go. Right. Unplug number 1. We've got little connector, big connector. Unplug number 2. Same again, little connector, big connector. Might need to turn the coil around a bit to make it reach nice. Let's see. Now we should be okay. Just need to Put it through underneath there. There we go. For anyone interested, by the way, this assembly, there's two caps on the top of the cylinder head, and this tube goes into the airbox. This is a pair valve, which there will be, so these go into the exhaust side, and this comes from the airbox. There's a little valve there, and what it does is it puts enough air into the exhaust that when you roll off the throttle and there's still fuel, it burns off in the exhaust, which is completely useless, doesn't do any good on track, not a lot of good on the road, and on every single race bike and a lot of track bikes it will be deleted, and then you can, if you're getting it remapped, you can go into the ECU and get it switched off. We're leaving it on at the moment because we aren't taking this for a map until we get a full exhaust system, and at the moment there's no need or any point of taking it off. When we come to an exhaust, I will have a look if there's a kit, because a lot of bikes come with a kit to remove this, and see how much it is and recommend my dad one way or the other. That said, it is quite often a lot of work to get to. I mean, in this case you've got to get the airbox off and the tank. On some other bikes I've done, it's even more involved. So it can be a lot of work to get to for the sake of two shiny little metal plates that you're never going to see again until you take the engine off. Anyway, let's get coils 3 and 4 plugged in. Ooh, hang on. 1, 2, 4, 3. That doesn't seem right. So I just noticed on the top of these two ignition coils, well, all of them, there's little dots to indicate which is which. So I've got 1, 2, strangely 4 and then 3, which they should be the other way around. Doesn't really matter because the cables only reach to one or the other. They won't reach to the wrong one. So obviously at some point someone's had these coils out and swapped them round. Confused me for a minute, but not really an issue. Anyway, number 3 goes on here. And number 4 goes on here. That can all get tucked in out the way, as out the way as it can be. There we go. Right, that is the quick shifter as installed as I can be until I get the rear sets, put that on, connect the sensor to there, that to the battery. I'm going to leave these uncable tied for now because I need to do the brake lines and these pipes will get taken out, so I'll have to work out what, if anything, I can tie these to once these are out of the way. Before I do that, I need to wait for some plugs because the kit I've got, I forgot to mention that it was an ABS bike. I just said I needed non-ABS lines, so I haven't got plugs at the moment. Once I got them, then I can actually do the brake lines, so that will probably be next week. Thanks for watching. Next time we'll be doing definitely the brake lines. Hopefully we'll get some rear sets and we can finish off the quick shifter and possibly a fairing, but let's wait and see. Thanks very much.